Black Royal Spiritism, I.O Sino da Igrejas, is the debut full length from RUIM, which is a solo project from Blasphemer, who you'll probably best know from uh, Mayhem throughout the 2000s, pretty much, and R Noir, and more recently Ultimus. Um, I know him personally best from the Absu records that he played on, including the most recent Proscriptor record, and uh, that really is a big part of why I'm not that surprised at where the signature comes across. It's because I'm a fan of all of those things, and you really do get his signature up front. This is an album of his creation that came about in the pandemic, and I think it's fair to call this a pandemic album in general. The the pressurization that the pandemic put on a lot of artists is generally a good thing when it pushed them outside, not so much outside of their comfort zone, but into a place of general insanity. And what we find here is a commune with the spirits, a a look into esoteric religion as a way to add to the self and improve and grow, which is appreciable and impressive as an undertaking, not only as a kind of sort of solo endeavor, it's actually a duo, but just as an addition to his general oeuvre and his body of work, which, doesn't come lightly. He doesn't have a million side projects. And so this very much feels like a surrogacy of what he had worked on in Mayhem over the years. So, uh, before I get carried away with that thought, we'll just cut right into a song here. So this record really is the start of an ambition to do a three-part concept kind of trilogy of albums, which this first one focuses on the Afro-Brazilian religion of Umbanda, which you probably should research whatever is available out there and learn about if you're interested in anthropology and religion and the syncretism of religion worldwide. But it's an interest and a point of interest and a conversation that this album brings about just aesthetically, but that this really is just about Blasphemer putting out a solo album for the most part. Now, I don't want to underplay the role of the drummer. He is currently the live drummer of Aggressor, which you'll recall is one of my favorite French death metal bands, and he plays in some other groups, and he really shows up on this album. I don't really emphasize it in the written review, but obviously that standard, like, it's very high here on both ends, and the drummer really shows up for this record in a big way. Um, Otherwise, we get something very different from Something Wicked Marches In, where Ultimus is sort of always a kind of a congested feeling rhythmic attack. This is all very much fluid and more focused on the black metal side of things in terms of flow and spiritual embodiment and aggression. Now, we get the artist's signature all over this thing, and in different pieces and different um, wavelengths, and generally we get riffs, and that's the important thing, is we get these guitar style and aggression of the artist all over this thing. Now, I don't think it's one-to-one return to what he'd done in Mayhem up until 2007, but it was inspired by some of his guitar ideas that he'd picked up from old tapes that were from the late 90s. And in many ways, you feel the artist remembering who they are, and or not, not that he'd ever lost that, but there's some connection to the old, the new, and reflection upon the self that is important to this record. Now, I don't have the lyrics, so I can't really get much further into it than that, but I can say that it is a very solid and I would say smartly put together album that flows quite well from side A to side B. There's no real downturn, there's no real catch point, and none of the ideas seem absurd or off subject throughout. There's one song, the one sung in Norwegian, is a little bit off color and more brutal than some of the things around it, but I think that's a nice kind of refreshing point in the second half that I liked. So there is one song that is technically a bit of filler, but it works and you won't even notice it when you leave the album on repeat and just listen to the whole thing. So it almost got there for me. It was I didn't find a huge personal connection to this album. There wasn't that song that hit me that I just had to go back and listen to again. But as a whole, I appreciated the full listen, and this feels very much curated towards the listener who sits down and listens to a whole album. You're not looking for just one song, you're looking for the whole thing, and you're looking to really give it some serious attention, pour over the lyrics and look over everything. And that's what this album is all about. And I think I'll give it more time when I have the physical copy and I can kind of look at the lyrics and sit with it and take a closer look at the art and all that. So it's something to dig into for the future, and it's something that I think has some value, which I give a moderately high recommendation to it. It's right there teetering on like essential. And I think if you're a fan of this guy's work, obviously you're going to want this record. So check out the written review if you feel like it, and you can listen to the album right now.